What did you eat today? If you're an average American adult, 54% of your calories come from processed foods. And if you're a kid or a teenager, 67%. This widespread consumption of processed food is impacting the health of Americans.
Ultra-processed foods, even independently of diet quality and nutrient intakes, is associated with several chronic diseases. It's associated with increased risk of mortality, cardiovascular disease, of weight gain and obesity, and also some mental health issues such as anxiety and depression.
In the United States, almost 60% of us deal with one chronic condition, at least one chronic condition. If I could probably raise my hand 3 or 4 times when we ask those questions. And we know that there are a lot of things outside of our control, especially when we deal with cancer, but food isn't one of them.
It's clear that processed food is an important issue affecting the American population. So what can be done to mitigate its negative effects? Of particular promise is the NOVA food classification system.
So the NOVA classification was developed by researchers from the University of Sao Paulo, Professor Carlos Monteiro, in order to be able to capture the shifts that he had seen in the Brazilian population in terms of eating less of traditional staple foods, minimally processed foods such as rice and beans and vegetables, etc., and eating more packaged, highly processed foods.
Group 1 foods are unprocessed or minimally processed. So basically natural food as you get it from the environment. An apple, a piece of steak, something that really is fresh and natural. Group 2 are processed culinary ingredients. So those are things like oil, butter, sugar, salt. They may be processed by pressing, refining, grinding, milling, drying, things like that. But basically, they're relatively natural. Group 3 is processed foods, and that's things that are combinations of 1 and 2. So they might contain things like canned foods, cheese, freshly made bread, things like that. And then group 4 are ultra-processed foods. So those are things that are, they may have ingredients that are sort of not recognizable as natural. They may have chemicals. They're packaged foods, soft drinks, things like that.
A study by Dr. Kevin Hall highlights the relevance of classifying foods by their level of processing.
One group got highly processed food, one group got unprocessed food. And the diets both had the same amount of protein, fat, carbohydrate, and fiber in them. So same amount of macronutrients. And then they let the patients eat as much or as little as they wanted. The group given the processed food was eating it faster. So that's because of what I mentioned about the reward center in the brain. They ate it faster, they ate more, and in 2 weeks, they gained an average of 2 pounds, whereas the other group lost an average of 2 pounds. And then after 2 weeks, they swapped them, and the same thing happened.
The weight gain was a result of those eating processed food ingesting 500 more calories a day. However, processed food is a multifaceted issue, and solving it will also require government action.
In the United States, we have legislation called the Farm Bill. Should be better known as the Food Bill. Within every 5 years, the Congress debates farm and food policy. And that legislation is up for debate as we speak. Farmers are driven to produce what those programs subsidize and support. If you aren't satisfied with the food choices you have, if you aren't satisfied with the statistics of child obesity, if you aren't satisfied with the health stats of type 2 diabetes, if you aren't satisfied with just what you get to eat, then you need to engage, because a handful of companies are giving us junk food and trying to tell us it's good for us. It's time to engage.
We have the power to bring together the right people at the right time to talk about what needs to happen in order to translate once again, the research and the data into usable information for Americans to improve the quality of life and reduce their risk of chronic disease and cancer.
To learn more about the 2025 Farm Bill or the 2025-2030 USDA Dietary Guidelines, visit the links below. It's time to change what's on our plates.